CGA Tour, a podcast unlike any other. Now your host, Calvin Alexander.
Welcome back to another episode of the CGA Tour podcast. As always, here I'm your host, Calvin Glen Alexander. And on tonight's episode of the podcast, I'm joined by Bryson Shanklin, who's currently a student studying sports management at NC State and also works for Teamwork Online. Bryson, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me, Calvin. Good to be here.
Yeah, of course. Well, in my continuing episode series here of the podcast, we're trying to bring on people who currently work in the sport, graduating here this year, I believe, right?
Yep, that's right. Graduating in December. Yep.
Awesome. Well, give us a little bit, and then
Yeah, sorry. They're just asking for an intro. Sorry, a little laggy here.
no, you're all good. Yeah, just give us a little bit of background here on you. You know how you got to where you are today with team.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give everyone the rundown here. Started, everyone wants to work in sports. Probably played sports growing up. So played sports growing up, and then started school at BYU. Knew I wanted to work in sports. Joined the sports business club, and then ended up working for the football team there for 3 years as a player experience manager. So we handled everything from equipment to apparel for the players, the staff. So servicing over 300 people with the apparel, the jerseys, right? Stitch and unstitch the nameplates on the back, decaling the helmets, all of that stuff. I was at all of the football games, traveled to the games with the team. So really enjoyed that experience. Met my wife at BYU. She got a job offer out in North Carolina, so we moved out here. That's why I'm going to NC State. And after we moved out here, used Teamwork Online, got a job in game day operations for North Carolina Football Club and NC Courage. So enjoyed working in soccer there. Not a sport I played growing up, but enjoyed that experience. And then decided I want to start creating content on LinkedIn and just sharing with people what I wish I knew from the beginning of my sports career, from really freshman year of college, the things I wish I knew. And so starting posting on LinkedIn, made a post that linked back to Teamwork Online, connected with our president, Davis Philippel. And a few months later, had the opportunity to meet up in person. And so that's kind of how I got to where I am today.
Wonderful. Well, tell us some more about, what you're doing is I think that sounds like a real glamorous opportunity, right? You're being on the sidelines during, now what is now Power 5 football. Now BYU's joined the big I went to college at, playing Oklahoma State. But, tell us some more about kind of what was the, how did you get that internship? What was the day-to-day like? How was it traveling with the team? That type of stuff here as well.
It was awesome. Dream college job is what I'll always call it. So BYU was really fun working in equipment, just for so many reasons. So I got the internship because right after high school, I served a 2-year volunteer mission for my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Salt Lake City, Utah. And so then went to school at BYU and went back up to Salt Lake. It's like an hour from Provo, which is where BYU is. I was talking with someone I had met on that volunteer mission. And he was like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, I don't know. I like sports. And so he said, well, cool. I know someone that is working for BYU football. Let me give you their contact info. So he gave me the guy's contact info. It was Billy Nixon. He was director of football operations at the time. So I gave him a call, and he told me that they actually do internships in equipment and player experience there. And so we talked about it, and then I didn't actually hear back for a couple weeks. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go in and say hi, and we can meet in person and go from there. And so I went in, said hi. I'm trying to remember. I don't even know if he was there the first time or not, but went back a few times, talked with him a few times, met his boss, met some of the student interns, and then just kept going back, kept walking in until we finally got connected, got the interview, and then kept following up until I got the job offer afterwards. So nothing crazy, but like once every couple weeks, just to stay top of mind. So that's kind of how I got the internship. And then from there, the day-to-day, man, there's so much. You're there all the time, as much as the football players, possibly more than some of them even. So you got to be there before they come and after too. So fall camp, we're there to set up practices, everything they need from pads and footballs and cones and whatever big machines they need, things like that. Setting up, I don't know, there's like some trees around the practice field, and you got to set up these pads against the fence by the trees so the players don't get injured. All the little things that you just might not think about. So we set all of that up before practice. We're there during practice. We're assigned to a position coach. So I worked with the wide receivers for 2 years and the cornerbacks for a year. And it's whatever the coach needs: equipment, balls, gloves, cones. We pick it up. We do whatever they ask us to. And then post-practice, clean everything up. Pylons, field goals, move them wherever they need to be. And then there's a lot more too, right? We do laundry during fall camp. All of the manual labor stuff, right, that you need to have a football team. That's basically what we did. We would help clean up the locker rooms. Again, decaling helmets, right? So at BYU, we introduced a couple new helmets when I was there. And so, we're decaling helmets almost every day, and then we're cleaning them after games. When we travel to and from games, I don't think a lot of people realize this, but there's an entire equipment truck that drives to the game. And so we pack and unpack that truck. It's got all of their helmets, shoulder pads, all of their swag, the leggings, the sleeves, all of that little stuff. And so, there before the players show up, there after the players leave. And that's a little bit of the day-to-day.
Man, yeah, that sounds like one heck of an intense internship, but also awesome because you get so much interaction, I would assume, with the football players and all type of stuff too, right? But
yeah,
when it comes down to it, like, are you staying? I guess I'm more interested here in, like, for example, working in ticket sales my entire career in sports, postgraduate. Like, I don't have interaction with the players whatsoever. So, like, if I have a fan ask me, hey, I want to get an autograph from from whoever, then I work my way through somebody who probably at the end of the day, if I cut out all the middle people in the row and, just need to get to the straightforward person, I'd probably be asking someone like you, hey, can you get a player to, get an autograph? But I have to go through the right chain of commands, all that type of stuff to get approval and do what we can there on, like, licensing and what, player rights are and making sure we're not asking too many players for certain things, etc. But I do want to ask you though, on kind of that back end, like, did you kind of see yourself as like, oh yeah, there's definitely like a clear definition of, like, these guys just really do respect and really do love so much that we're interning? Or is there more of a, hey, we're not that hands-on with the team as far as, like, interacting, we're not traveling with them, we're not staying in, like, the same hotel, or we're not staying in the same rooms and stuff? Like, how does all of that play out?
Yeah, it was cool to see actually, just the difference in the culture shift a little bit. So my first year had one guy that was the head of equipment. He'd been there a long time. He'd worked his way up. Good guy. But then we had the person I mentioned earlier, Billy Nixon, who was, when I first started, he was the assistant director of equipment operations. And then my second and third year, he was the head guy, and his boss had moved on, I think retired. But we didn't have the same level of respect that first year. And I think just in part, some of the older ways were still in place in terms of how that older boss treated some of the players. Like the walk-ons didn't get the same treatment that the star players did and things like that, which I get to an extent, but like, we can give them a pair of socks or a sleeve or whatever. Like we have it. So why can't we give it to them? So it was just cool to see a culture shift where we took care of the players, even more so my second and third year under the leadership of our new boss. And then the players took care of us. They were a lot more helpful and a lot kinder those last 2 years. And then it also just varies player to player, but had some people that I really loved working with. Jaron Hall, he got drafted by the Vikings this last year, right? BYU's former quarterback. Just one of the most humble guys you'll ever meet and just super kind, always saying thank you, so we'll always remember things like that. James Empey, he was a center for BYU. And I remember one night we were doing laundry. It's like midnight, maybe 1 o'clock, and he's finally leaving too. And as he walks by the equipment room, he just like bangs on the lockers and says, "Not all heroes wear capes," and made my day. Like just awesome experience that some of the players would be kind like that and notice the equipment guys. So yeah, some good experiences there.
That's awesome. Well, on that same note, do you want to ask you, what's your kind of best story from working in sports so far?
Yeah. Favorite memory has to be when BYU played Arizona State. It was a close game. We were both ranked top 20, I think mid to high teens. So some stakes involved in the game. And Jaron Hall, he'd thrown a pick, and so the ball was heading the other way. It looked like it was going to be a pick six. And Tyler Algier, our running back, just chased this guy down. I don't know if you've seen the play, but chased the guy down and like, I don't know how, but like 60 yards, chased him down, jumped up, punched the ball out from behind, like, I don't know, some Superman type move. And then Jaron Hall was trailing too, and then recovered the fumble. And we ended up winning the game, but that probably would have been a game ender, and Arizona State probably would have won. So that's the coolest memory. The other piece of that is that it was a sold out game, and we had the clappers, the bumpers in the stands. And so Arizona State, I kid you not, literally had 3 or 4 false starts back to back, I think on their opening drive, because they just could not hear. And it was awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy. I do want to ask you, were you working for the team when BYU and Baylor played and went to overtime?
Yeah, the Baylor game? Yeah.
Yeah. Were you any memorable experiences with that one? Because that was one where I watched and I was like intently going, okay, there's no way in the world Baylor will lose this one. And I mean, it just seemed like a ton of fun that entire game, right?
Yeah. Oh, I guess I'm misspeaking here. You're talking about the overtime game. I was working for the team the year before that when we played at Baylor, but I wasn't there for the one where they were at home. But I remember watching that game, and that was wild.
Yeah. Of course. Well, from your from your time here, you've worked for a college department, and now also you're working for teamwork. What are the differences? I mean, I know there's massive differences here, but just explain to everyone, what are the differences? What do you like a lot, in your new role as, a different type of intern, right? You're not working like day to day with a team necessarily, right? But you kind of are in the same point. Just the team is not, the actual school you're going to anymore, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There's some big differences working for a team versus working still in sports, right? But I'm not working for a team. I'm working for a sports tech company or recruiting or whatever you want to call it, right? There's a lot of opportunities that are adjacent to working for a sports team. So working for a sports team is super cool because, again, like you're at the games. That was my favorite part. The rest of it was a blast too, but being at the games and the practices, it's just a total blast. I mean, I was a ball boy. I was on the sidelines. I'm right by the head coach, Kalani Sataki, like, stepping onto the field to throw the ball in, little stuff like that. It's just will always be a memory. And then, working for Teamwork Online, it's really cool because it's so wide reaching. I'm working with so many teams and so many organizations in sports. So there's a little bit of a difference there. I'm not working with players right now necessarily, right? There's plenty of roles where you can go work with players. You can go work in equipment. You can go coach. You can go do player development. But this, I just love it because I'm working with a lot of like-minded people like myself who I know want to work in sports, and getting to help those kind of people too. So just a really cool opportunity to see so many different sports, and just have a bigger range, I guess I would say.
Yeah, of course. And what's your what's the favorite part you have of your current job versus when you used to work at like in a stadium?
Yeah, I just have to say the ability to have that range of working with so many different people, I think is a blast, and I don't know quite how to say it. There's a little more work-life balance, I guess, is what I would say, right? I'm remote, and some weeks working the football games, right? I'd probably work upwards of 60 hours a week, especially if it's like a home game or something, or an away game. If you count travel, then we're probably getting close to that too. So it's a grind, right? Working for a sports team, working in equipment, it was a grind, and I'm still grinding now, I feel like, but there's a little more life balance in that area. So still love being able to work in sports, but also have time to, go play sports, right? I love going and playing pickleball or disc golf or basketball or football or what have you. So.
All right. Well, when it comes down to basketball here, I've got to ask you, who's your like player comp? Who have people compare you to your game as?
Oh,
Who's the guy who you play like?
You're gonna have to help me out here, but anyone that's really bad at shooting, but just
Okay.
goes all out and constantly is constantly running and trying and getting rebounds, but it's just not great.
I watched a little bit of Team USA basketball, so I'm going to try to compare you to a pro. Josh Hart had double-digit rebounds at 6'5" today, so he had 11 rebounds in the Team USA game. Maybe it's Josh Hart, but defensively, I'd say maybe you're more of a Tony Allen. He was an Oklahoma State Cowboy who then played for the Celtics, and he was not known for his three-point shooting, but he was known for his defense, for sure. And then there's quite a few Thunder players I could go over the years who were 3-and-D guys, but they were much more defensively. Andre Roberson was the guy who Houston Rockets would leave wide open in a playoff series and would foul him on purpose to go shoot free throws, but he would lock up James Harden. He was so valuable on the defensive end, to be there on the court there itself. So one of those myriad of guys here. I'm comparing your skills to an NBA player, which I'm sure if I did that myself here, I'd be laughing, or I am. So it's kind of that skill there. Well, yeah, as a current student here, I've been working in the sports industry for 5+ years. What kind of questions do you have here for me before I go on the rest of my question spree here?
Yeah, I would say same thing to you. What's your favorite part of your current job right now? Selling tickets, making money.
Yeah, so being a manager of sales versus in my previous time, basically just selling straightforward. It's very different in looking at everything as like a month to month, instead of just a week to week, and even looking at it like a week to week. Nothing is as straightforward as it was previously. Also working for USFL, where we're creating jobs, where maybe in the future here we're gonna be reaching out to teamwork. I'm not sure who exactly, but when we start hiring people on, that's a whole different ball game as well too. As far as, okay, we need to hire on some people underneath me, need to train them up, get them ready, get them on the phones, etc., lay out all these business plans, make budgets, and put everything together. Whereas beforehand, it was, hey, here's Bryson. He's interested in tickets. Call him. And then that was pretty darn straightforward of overcoming. Okay, all right, Bryson doesn't think he can come to that many games. All right, how do I overcome that objection? Or, oh, he doesn't think that this fits within his budget. How do I overcome that objection? Whereas now it's, hey, you need to, make plans and make business pitches and, hey, find events to go to in the city of Birmingham, Alabama that I've never been to until I moved here for work. So, find places, find, all the types of deals here as well too. So I like it a lot because it's a completely different skill set that I did not have really any expertise in beforehand, but I knew I was ready for the moment once it came up, and once the job became available is something I was definitely looking to do. So it's something that does challenge me a lot, but at the same point, it's something that's very different versus just kind of the smiling and dialing, the making the cold calls. Like that's at the end of the day what I know I'm good at, and I know when I need to call up somebody to just get some group deposits, like I could spend half my day doing that, do a pretty darn good job doing that, season ticket deposits, whatever it may be, because that's what I've been doing for 5+ years. And it's on the other hand where I, need some more feedback, need some more of those mentors that I have in the sports industry that I've reached out to here, kind of either doing the podcast or just mentors I have, period, from working sports now for a little bit, and ask them for their help and their feedback and their guidance as well on, okay, hey, like, is this feasible timeline wise, or is this correct? Do you think this will actually be possible with this budget and all this type of stuff too? Because some of the numbers are, quite big, and some of the numbers are also like, well, hang on, if I divide that all the way out, it becomes quite small for this, and this. So how does this all work together? And then learning about how, oh, okay, of course it's that way, and stuff too. So I know I'm talking a lot of vagueness here, but at the end of the day, it's quite a good deal just to be able to still work in sports, of course, still working football. And then it's a really big passion of mine, but also work in a new city and work for a new league, in our third year, excuse me, here with USFL, and third year in a row in Birmingham with fans, but second year for the league to have fans, throughout the country too.
Right.
So pretty darn good deal there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always encourage people to get jobs in ticket sales whenever they can, because there's a ton of opportunities there. Every team has them. And then maybe something else, and I have an idea a little bit already, but maybe it'd be good for the listeners. What's kind of the next step? What's the trajectory kind of look like for someone in ticket sales and then managing a ticket sales team? What's the future look like?
Yeah, so I think that everyone in the entire sports industry I've ever heard say anything is that there's no two paths are the same. So I just want to preface everything with that. But normally what I've seen happen is you start interning, then you start in inside sales, then move into the account executive role. And then from there, you can either move up into premium sales, you can move to be a manager of sales, you can do premium, then manager of sales, whatever it may be. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, where I moved into premium, then manager of sales. And then hopefully one day it'd be director role, VP role, whatever it is with ticket sales as well. But I've also seen people, plenty of different friends, and at this point, I'm just calling family here, change what they're doing in the sports industry itself too, where they were doing sales, they were really productive at it, but then they also decided to pivot to something that was much more in their wheelhouse of things they were looking forward to doing every single day too, where they got in, tried out sales, and they went, you know what? Like, this is great. I'm working in sports. I think I'm 80% happy in my current role, but what if I try to get all the way to 100% and I did a little bit of the marketing side? What if I try to do more of the corporate partnership side where I'm building together long form plans that are not just like smile and dial, pitch you once or pitch you an appointment? What if I'm trying to work on to like a month plan at a time? Whereas to me, like more that I learned about that, I was like, man, this seems kind of stressful. You have like a whole month putting together a whole presentation. If it falls through, what do? Then you kind of learn you're putting together basically the same kind of pitch for 6 different companies, all to do within 1 month. So it's not really just one shot you have in a month. And then if it fails, it doesn't work out. It's like 6 shots you're making at the same time, and you're hopefully getting 50%. But it's one of those things where I think people move just kind of however you want to upwards in the sports industry. Inside sales is something where I'd say it's great to get your foot in the door with a sports team, because there's just, sales is what it is. There's more roles to be somebody calling and trying to sell you tickets over the phone than there is somebody who runs the one Twitter account for the Atlanta Braves, for example, right? Or there are 3 people who run it now, because it's all called X, and there's, then there's Threads and Instagram, et cetera. But, I think the point being of, there's a social media team, which is, oh, I'd love to run social media in sports. And I know that's a great opportunity. I know it's a great job, but then also do you want to work in sports doing anything, or do you want to work in sports, but only in specific thing? Because then also I'd tell everyone you can work in sports and you can be working for an ad agency that does sports programming, that works with youth teams in the area, that works with, church, football and basketball and baseball leagues. At least I know of in Oklahoma growing up too, where they need flyers created and stuff. And then you're kind of sponsoring that team league a little bit here and there. So you can always find a way, I'd say, to work in if you're not But there's always a way also to go, hey, ticket sales is a great way to get your foot in the door, see what it's about, because you're going to grind in ticket sales and work longer hours, work more than I think you are in any other department, at least day to day. Because when the offseason hits, like, all right, cool. I don't know exactly right now what an NBA team's putting up on Twitter. I mean, they're putting up stuff for Team USA, they're, or whatever players they have. But then when the season starts, they're probably averaging more hours than ticket sales is, or it might be about the same. But then when it's the offseason again, like they get to go back to the playbook, develop a little bit more, see what trends are out there, do more research. Whereas ticket sales, at least I know I can just walk in the door every single day and go, cool. These are these people who are interested, or these people I know who I can look through LinkedIn or Sales Navigator or whatever and go, you know what, I need to reach out to them today too. If I'm doing prospecting or get inbound leads, whatever it may be, and make the calls that way. So, I'd say ticket sales is awesome because it's a little more straightforward. And I'm not trying to be as creative as possible. But then again, there's plus sides and minuses with everything. Always pros and cons.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something for everyone in sports, whether it's, you mentioned working for an ad agency or doing ticket sales or everything in between. Another thing that you just made me think of is, if you can go do ticket sales, right? If you can get a job in ticket sales, excel at it, and like you said, maybe it's your 80% happy job and you're looking for that 100% job. Sales is just such a great skill to have because really it applies to any role you're doing. Like even the marketing team, the Twitter team, like they have goals. You're trying to make an impact, and you're trying to drive people to be fans, to go buy tickets, to buy merch, to do all of these different things, right? That are generating revenue for the organization. So if you can excel at sales and then have that revenue generation mindset and apply it to other roles, then you're just going to be that much better and more impactful in those other roles. So, it's just a great skill to have, and it applies to every role in the industry and outside of it too.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing as well is that as you move up in your career, you're always going to at least want to be selling yourself on the role you're interviewing for, or selling yourself on, making that commitment with your significant other or whatever as well too. So you have a little bit more upside in the game there. I'll never forget my first inside sales manager I had, basically when we walked in the room, sat down, day one, week one, he said, after this sales training, you will be better at life. You will just gain more friends, be happier overall. You'll be whatever, because you'll be that person of your friend group who is really out there, really outgoing, really passionate. If you dive headfirst into this, that'll be you. And at the end of the day, I know several of those people, including myself, that was much more of me. Okay, I kind of knew I wanted everyone to come play basketball on Tuesday nights at 6:00, but I didn't really know how to make that all work and how that all happens. And now, of course, we've got that going every Tuesday because I was like, all right, what actually matters and what doesn't with these specific set of people if I actually all want them to come out and shoot some hoops and then, and not break their ankle every single week too. So I think that's a lot of it as well as the sales. There's just so many other aspects of networking with people, going to business conferences, meeting up for different kind of events as well. And then just learning from, I went to the National Sports Forum earlier this year, learning from everyone who was there and talking with other industry leaders and executives and learning, okay, you know what, like, we're all basically cut from the same cloth. Everyone wants to help each other succeed. And how do you do that? And one of the things is just being really outgoing to be able to sell yourself. So
100% agreed. Well said.
Thank you. Well, I also want to ask you here, you touched earlier on the kind of the work-life balance. How do you manage that right now? Because I know that's one of the biggest things of, you're a current student, got an internship with Teamwork Online, and also you're married. So how do you manage that work-life balance a little bit better?
Yeah. First thing I would say is it's really important to get experience as early as you can. So if you're a freshman, go get it. If you're a sophomore, go get it. If you're a junior, go get it. If you're graduated college, go get it. You got to be doing something in sports, right? And I noticed too, you did a lot of internships as well. And it's so important to get that experience whenever you can. Grades are important too, maintain a good GPA, but you need that experience. It's more important. It builds your network and just opens so many more doors than, a perfect GPA might. So when it comes to work-life balance, I guess that's one of the things I would say, get the experience, prioritize getting that early. And you're still going to have time to do the job and get things done at school, but get the experience. That's important. Another thing for me is just I love playing sports. It energizes me. It keeps my passion for working in sports alive. And so I know I mentioned it earlier, but I love playing pickleball, disc golf, basketball, flag football, you name it. I'm pretty much down to go play. And I'm kind of the organizer of my friend group in a lot of ways too. So setting all those things up. And then it's important, right, to spend time with family, significant other, your spouse, whoever it is. So I know it's kind of a vague answer, right? But make sure you're making time for yourself as well, because that's going to make you better at your job as well, right? You don't want to just only be doing the one grind every single day and then you're done, you hate it. Like, you don't want to ruin and suck the fun out of it. So find what energizes you, whether it's spending time with friends or going and playing pickup sports. Make time for it. And it's going to make you better at school, at work. It's not necessarily going to have the opposite effect. Sometimes people worry about, I can only do this or that, right? But get your hand in a bunch of different things, get the experience, and it's going to make you're going to be better for it.
I think it's a great answer. And just to add on to that, I would say, and add time blocking in, because I know growing up, my parents came from, basically when I was in elementary school, my parents got divorced. And then all of a sudden I realized that my life was time blocked. Basically, when I looked back at it, I was like, man, you know what? My life has been time blocked for almost every minute of every day since that happened, where it was, okay, I'm here for this many hours of this household, then this bag's going to go to this household with the books in it. And then all of a sudden you're in class from these hours of the day, then you're doing homework for these hours of the day, then you're practicing or playing sports these hours of the day, right? Then all of a sudden you get to college and you've got the same schedule where you've got this class at these hours, you've got the study hall at these hours, you've got, intramural sports at these hours, etc. All of a sudden you graduate and you're like, now I can do anything anytime I want to, which is awesome. But at the same point, if you stick with the time blocking thing that your parents set you up with, or at least my parents set me up with, of, okay, I'm going to go to the gym for these hours every single day and time block this out. And then I'm going to go, work out and do, these weights these days, these weights these other days, whatever may be. I'm going to eat dinner around this time. Nothing has to be this exactly planned out with it. But if you have a good guideline for it and you have it all set out, then, it usually works out pretty darn well at the end of the day too. So that way you prioritize what you want to. Mine's, and then throughout the workday, I'm big time blocker myself, my Excel calendar, or my Outlook calendar, of where everything shows up as free. So boss can always schedule something on my calendar if he needs to, but it's all for, hey, I'm going to make these follow-up calls this day, calls to new lead this day, prospect for these couple hours of this day, do these reports, et cetera, here and here as well too. That way it's not the end of the day and it's not 6 o'clock and like, crap, what have I done all day? It's okay. Yeah, I had that reminder go off in 15 minutes. I need to start prospecting, and then 15 minutes later I need to go do something else too, or get ready to go to lunch, whatever it is as well. So that way it's not the end of the day and I've got still 6 things left, because I know that was definitely me early on in my sports career for sure, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, glad you brought it up, right? It's always there's always a balancing act there, but I have my paper agenda, my paper daily thing, and where keeping track of all the different things I got to do. Time blocking's huge. Like you said. And then the other piece of that is just I like to, sometimes I don't get it done, right? I don't plan my day out ahead of time or things like that. But I'll start doing things and I'll be like, crap, I need a time block. And I'll write down the things I've already done too, and then check them off. It gives you a free little like dopamine hit. But anyway.
No, I love that, because girlfriend's got a list of stuff for me going on the fridge of, hey, do this week, do this week or whatever. And then, once I get to erase something, I'm like, all right, cool. I've got like only a couple more things to do that we, both got to do to make sure the dogs are all set, or make sure the apartment's all cleaned up, or whatever may be, packed for a certain trip that's coming up, talk about something financially, whatever may be. But that way there's at least a plan. You don't forget about things that randomly pop up at the last minute. And then all of a sudden, crap, we forgot to buy, brother-in-law a card or something, right? So, it's all kind of segmented out just with so many different working parts, especially with 2 different people and everything as well too. So,
Exactly.
well, To kind of wrap up the podcast a little bit here, definitely want to ask you, what's your biggest piece of advice for freshmen, sophomores coming into college, as well as others who are about to graduate like yourself?
Yeah, if you're just coming into college, first thing I would do is get involved in your sport management club, sports business club. Again, something I saw on your LinkedIn that you did in your college career as well. I just think it's so important to get involved early, because then there's going to be juniors and seniors there that can help direct you and guide you in person. So you're going to have some leadership there. You're going to have some opportunity to get experience if you get involved in the club presidency. That's a great way to network, getting guest speakers for the club, things like that. So it's a good place to start. Jump on Teamwork Online. Creating a profile is free. You're able to sign up for notifications for sports jobs based on where you live, what kind of jobs you're looking for, part-time, internships, entry level, as well as what you're interested in. So if you're interested in corporate partnerships or ticket sales or marketing or social media, and everything that you can think of, really, you can sign up and get notifications for when jobs like that get posted. So make a Teamwork Online profile, join the sports business club, and then start getting internships as early as you can. I made a post the other day on LinkedIn: go walk into the athletic department. That's pretty much how I got my job with BYU football. There's dozens of departments in college athletic departments, depending on the size of your college. They all have student interns or student volunteers. So just go volunteer, get involved as early as you can. And then for juniors and seniors, time to start stepping it up. So hopefully at this point you have an internship or two. Keep building on those. Network. Informational interviews are huge. Make sure you have a LinkedIn profile. Make sure it's updated. I like posting. I post almost every day. It's a good way to stay top of mind, right? So that people are seeing your face, that you have this body of work, right? If you're posting pictures of, if I'm posting pictures of me at BYU football, people are seeing that, oh, this guy's got experience, right? It takes it past just being a piece of paper and a resume, right? But you have this body of work people can see, and then they can trust you, right? The sports world, sports industry is risk averse. They don't want to take risks. They want to do things they know are going to succeed, right? It's the same strategy they use in the draft and drafting players and trading for players, right? They're trying to take these people that have proven track records, show them you have a proven track record, show them you have experience. So that's what I'd do if I was a college junior or senior.
Awesome. Well, very last question here. As we end out the episode, do you want to ask you, what do you want to do when you graduate? What kind of sports job are you thinking about here going forward?
Absolutely. Huge fan of Teamwork Online. Loved working at Teamwork Online. Loved the team. So looking to start my career there afterwards, managing partnerships, right? So it's a really cool space where I get to help job seekers, but also Teamwork Online. We have a whole team that support all of the employers that post jobs on Teamwork Online and making sure they're attracting the right kind of candidates, as well as generating new business, bringing on the sports teams that maybe aren't posting on Teamwork Online yet, and the sports organizations, right? Sports tech is booming right now. So bringing more organizations like that to Teamwork Online and generating revenue. That's the goal right now. So
awesome. Well, Bryson, thanks so much here for joining the latest episode. Thanks so much for input, advice, telling us more about your background, your backstory as well too. Please connect with him on LinkedIn if you haven't already. Where can people find you as far as your social media stuff, besides Teamwork and LinkedIn?
Yeah, honestly, it's LinkedIn. That's where I'm at. I have other stuff, but it's all old and not used. So LinkedIn.
Sounds good. Well, I'll be sure to tag that everywhere. And Bryson, thanks so much again here for joining. Please follow at the CGA Tour on Twitter, or X now, I guess I should say, as well as Threads, Instagram, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. So thanks so much, everyone, for listening, and we'll catch you guys again soon.
Thanks, Calvin.